Have you ever met someone who seems to have an endless amount of energy, always speaks their mind, and yet, somehow leaves you feeling a little puzzled? That person might just be an Aries, the fiery, bold, and undeniably unique sign of the zodiac. Aries is often known for being straightforward, competitive, and full of passion, but what truly sets them apart is the unpredictability and intensity that they carry. If you've ever wondered why Aries behaves the way they do, or perhaps felt intrigued by their constant drive and fierce loyalty, then you're in for a journey of discovery. Imagine you're at a sports event, and the person leading the race is not only full of energy but exudes a confidence and determination that is hard to ignore. This is Aries. They thrive on challenges, lead with enthusiasm, and make their mark wherever they go. But there's more to them than just their dynamic presence. The traits that make Aries stand out can sometimes feel confusing, even weird to those who don't fully understand the complexity behind their actions. But the truth is, beneath that fiery exterior, there lies a deeper layer of strength, vulnerability, and an unyielding commitment to both themselves and those they care about. Today, we'll explore the unique characteristics of Aries and uncover what makes them one of the most fascinating, and at times, enigmatic signs in the zodiac. So, whether you're an Aries yourself or you're simply curious about this bold and passionate sign, stick around, because understanding Aries is much more than just knowing about their personality. Let's dive in. 1. Blunt and direct communication, no sugarcoating. When we talk about Aries, the first trait that stands out is their unwavering commitment to honesty. But this isn't just any kind of honesty. Aries has an incredibly direct approach to communication, often choosing to speak their truth in a way that leaves no room for ambiguity. In a world where many people hide behind niceties or sugarcoat their words to avoid conflict, Aries takes a different route. They believe that being clear and forthright is the only way to truly connect with others. This characteristic can often leave people around them stunned, especially those who prefer a more tactful, diplomatic approach. For Aries, there's no point in dressing up the truth. And they don't shy away from delivering their message, even if it may be uncomfortable for others. This could mean giving someone constructive criticism in the most straightforward way possible. Or it could mean simply stating their opinion without hesitation. From a psychological perspective, this trait reflects a deep desire for clarity and transparency. Aries doesn't want to deal with the gray areas, they want to know where they stand. And they want the same from others. This desire for transparency can sometimes be seen as brutal honesty, which can make Aries come across as blunt or even rude. However, what most people fail to realize is that this bluntness isn't born out of malice. It's simply the Aries way of cutting through the noise and getting straight to the heart of the matter. In relationships, whether romantic or professional, Aries values directness and openness. If you're dealing with an Aries, it's not unusual to hear them tell you exactly what they think about a situation or how they feel about something, with no sugarcoating involved. But this doesn't mean they're always right, and it doesn't mean they expect others to agree with them. What they do expect, however, is that their direct approach is respected. For example, imagine an Aries giving feedback to a friend about a project. Rather than offering vague encouragement or trying to soften the blow, they might say something like, "This isn't working. You need to change X and Y if you want this to succeed." For some, this honesty could be jarring, but for Aries, it's simply how they operate. To them, hiding the truth or dressing it up would be a disservice to the relationship. It's all about making sure that the message is clear, unambiguous, and most importantly, authentic. 2. All in when it comes to love, full commitment. When an Aries falls in love, it's not a half-hearted endeavor. They dive in headfirst, often without hesitation, and give their all to their partner. In the realm of astrology, Aries is ruled by Mars, the planet of action and passion. This planet's influence is evident in Aries' approach to love. When they commit, they do so with fierce dedication and intensity. Their romantic nature is defined by an all-or-nothing attitude. and they don't believe in giving anything less than 100%. This passionate and unyielding approach to love can feel overwhelming, especially in a world where many people build emotional walls to protect themselves. Aries, however, is completely open with their feelings and doesn't hold back. They express their affection boldly and wear their hearts on their sleeves, expecting nothing less in return from their partner. What makes this trait particularly interesting, and at times, difficult for others to understand, is that Aries doesn't necessarily require constant reciprocation. They love intensely. Not because they expect something in return, but simply because it's in their nature to do so. This means that even if their feelings aren't always reciprocated at the same level, Aries will continue to give their all. In relationships, this can be a beautiful and admirable quality. Their commitment is often unwavering, and their dedication to their partner can feel like a treasure to those who truly understand them. But this unrelenting love can also cause challenges. Aries expects their partner to meet their intensity with the same level of commitment, which can sometimes place pressure on the relationship. Not everyone is comfortable with this level of devotion, and it can be difficult for people who prefer a more casual or guarded approach to love to keep up. This is especially true in today's world of modern dating, where many people prefer to take things slow or keep their emotional walls high. For example, consider a scenario where an Aries is dating someone who is less emotionally open. The Aries might express their love through frequent gestures of affection, like planning spontaneous dates, buying thoughtful gifts, or simply devoting their time and energy to their partner. However, if their partner is not equally invested, Aries might feel frustrated or misunderstood. They don't do things halfway, and when they invest in someone, they expect to see the same level of commitment. In terms of psychological implications, Aries' all-in approach to love reflects their deep desire for connection and loyalty. Aries values transparency and honesty in relationships, and they seek partners who can match their passion and commitment. Their willingness to love without fear of vulnerability or rejection can be both inspiring and intimidating, depending on the person they're involved with. 3. Boundless energy, the never-ending drive. Aries is often described as having an inexhaustible supply of energy. This boundless enthusiasm fuels their passion for life, their drive for success, and their constant quest for adventure. Unlike many other signs who may need regular breaks or time to recharge, Aries seems to thrive on constant movement and excitement. They rarely slow down, and if they do, it's only because they're gearing up for their next big challenge. This relentless energy is not just about physical stamina, it's also about mental and emotional vitality. Aries is always ready to jump into new projects, start new adventures, or take on new challenges. They're natural-born initiators, driven by a desire to conquer the world around them. Whether it's taking on a new work project, pursuing a creative endeavor, or simply exploring new hobbies, Aries is always at the forefront, energized and ready to go. From a psychological perspective, this energy can be seen as a reflection of Aries' need for independence and autonomy. Their drive is rooted in the need to take control of their own destiny and shape the world around them. Their passion for action is what motivates them to take charge in every situation, whether it's at work or in their personal lives. However, this intense energy can sometimes be perceived as overwhelming or even exhausting for those around them. Aries tends to set a fast pace and can sometimes forget that others might not be able to keep up. For people who prefer a slower, more methodical approach to life, Aries' speed and urgency can seem a little too much to handle. Consider a workplace scenario where Aries is constantly pushing ahead, setting goals, and leading projects with enthusiasm. While this energy can be incredibly motivating for some, it can also create pressure for colleagues who prefer a more balanced work environment. Aries, however, doesn't see this as a problem. To them, it's simply how they operate, and they are fueled by a never-ending need for action and achievement. 4. Fiery temper, unpredictable yet passionate. One of the most defining characteristics of Aries is their fiery temper. When they get angry, it's like a storm, intense, sudden, and difficult to ignore. Aries doesn't shy away from expressing their emotions, especially when they feel wronged or frustrated. In a world where many people suppress or hide their anger, Aries' willingness to express their emotions openly and immediately can seem both refreshing and alarming. The Aries temper is notorious for being quick to flare up, often triggered by minor annoyances or perceived slights. However, what's truly unique about Aries is how quickly they move on after an outburst. Once their anger has been released, they tend to bounce back just as quickly, returning to their cheerful, energetic selves as if nothing happened. This rapid emotional shift can be difficult for others to keep up with, and it's often what makes Aries seem unpredictable and, at times, hard to understand. Psychologically, Aries' quick temper may reflect their innate drive to confront challenges head-on. When they face a situation that they perceive as unfair or frustrating, they instinctively react, expressing their anger as a way to restore balance. It's not necessarily about holding grudges or being vengeful, it's simply a matter of Aries wanting to clear the air and move forward. However, this emotional volatility can create challenges in relationships. For partners or friends who are more emotionally reserved, Aries' outbursts can seem excessive or difficult to handle. But to Aries, this is just part of being true to themselves. They don't believe in bottling up emotions or pretending everything is fine when it's not. This openness about their feelings can be both a strength and a challenge, depending on how others perceive it. 5. Perceived ruthlessness, the relentless pursuit of success. Aries is often perceived as ruthless, especially when it comes to pursuing their goals. Their competitive spirit drives them to push forward relentlessly, and they will stop at nothing to achieve what they want. This determination can make them seem cold or indifferent, especially to those who don't share the same level of ambition or drive. Aries doesn't shy away from challenges, and they are willing to do whatever it takes to succeed, even if it means stepping on a few toes along the way. From a psychological standpoint, Aries' ruthlessness can be seen as a reflection of their need for control and autonomy. They want to be the master of their own destiny, and they're not afraid to fight for what they believe in. This unwavering commitment to success is what makes Aries a natural leader, but it can also create tension with others who prioritize collaboration over competition. In the workplace, Aries might be the person who is always striving to outdo themselves, pushing boundaries, and never settling for less than perfection. While this drive can be inspiring and motivating, it can also create friction with colleagues who prefer a more team-oriented approach. Aries' focus on individual achievement and success can sometimes be interpreted as self-centered or ruthless. But for Aries, it's simply the way they operate. 6. Honesty is non-negotiable, the need for transparency in relationships. One of the most remarkable traits of Aries is their unwavering commitment to honesty. For Aries, honesty isn't just a preference. It's a necessity in every relationship they form, whether it's romantic, professional, or platonic. They have a strong belief that the foundation of any healthy relationship is built on transparency, and they won't tolerate any form of deception or dishonesty. In a world where half-truths, white lies, and omissions are often used to smooth over difficult situations, Aries is a breath of fresh air. They speak their mind without hesitation, even if the truth is uncomfortable. This can be both a strength and a challenge for those who interact with them. People who are used to more subtle forms of communication may find Aries' blunt honesty jarring or even intimidating. But for Aries, this is simply how they operate. They refuse to hide behind veiled language or beat around the bush. Psychologically, Aries' approach to honesty stems from their deep need for trust and clarity. They believe that nothing can truly thrive unless it is grounded in transparency. When Aries shares their thoughts or feelings, they expect the same level of openness in return. If someone is not forthcoming with them, it can feel like a betrayal, and they may distance themselves from that person. For example, in a romantic relationship, Aries expects complete honesty from their partner. If something is bothering them, they'll address it head-on rather than letting it fester. This transparency can create a solid foundation of trust, but it can also lead to conflict if their partner is not as open or if they prefer to avoid difficult conversations. But for Aries, it's essential. They want to know where they stand, and they want others to feel comfortable expressing themselves freely as well. This need for honesty extends beyond relationships and into their professional lives. In the workplace, Aries values straightforward communication. If something needs to be said, they will say it, no sugarcoating, no dancing around the issue. They see this as a way to ensure clarity and effectiveness, even if it might make some colleagues uncomfortable. In their eyes, honesty is the fastest way to solve problems and move forward. 7. Prioritizing themselves first, the key to maintaining balance. While many people are taught that putting others before themselves is the key to a happy life, Aries takes a different approach. They understand the importance of self-care and believe that to be the best partner, friend, or colleague, they must first take care of themselves. For Aries, putting themselves first is not an act of selfishness but rather a necessary step in maintaining balance in their lives. Psychologically, this mindset is rooted in Aries' strong sense of independence. They know that in order to give their best to others, they must ensure they are at their best themselves. This often means setting boundaries, taking time for themselves, and pursuing their own interests and goals without guilt. Aries understands that if they are constantly giving without replenishing their own energy, they will eventually burn out. In relationships, this self-prioritization can be a little confusing for others, especially those who may view it as selfish. Aries' ability to put their own needs first can sometimes lead others to feel neglected or overlooked. However, this behavior is not meant to be dismissive, it's simply how Aries stays grounded. They understand that if they don't take care of their mental, emotional, and physical well-being, they won't be able to give to others in a meaningful way. For example, imagine an Aries in a romantic relationship who decides to spend a weekend alone to recharge, even though their partner wants to spend time together. While this might feel hurtful to the partner, it's actually an act of self-care that will help Aries return to the relationship with more energy and emotional availability. This trait encourages others to set healthy boundaries and prioritize their well-being, which can ultimately strengthen their relationships in the long run. 8. Hiding pain behind strength, the resilient mask. Beneath Aries' fiery and bold exterior lies a person who, like anyone else, experiences pain and hardship. However, Aries has an exceptional ability to mask their vulnerability with an aura of strength. This is not to say that they are unemotional or lack empathy, but rather that they prefer to deal with their pain privately, often keeping it hidden from others. Aries sees their struggles as personal battles that only they can overcome, and they would rather face these challenges on their own than show weakness to those around them. From a psychological standpoint, this behavior can be traced back to Aries' desire for self-reliance. They view dependence on others as a form of weakness, and they take great pride in their ability to remain strong, even in difficult situations. This can make them appear emotionally distant or unapproachable, especially when they are going through tough times. However, this emotional independence is a form of protection. It helps them maintain control over their feelings and keeps them from becoming overwhelmed by external pressures. For example, when an Aries is going through a personal crisis, they may not openly share their struggles with others. Instead, they'll keep a brave face and focus on overcoming the situation themselves. To those around them, this can be puzzling. Why wouldn't they reach out for help? But for Aries, showing vulnerability feels like surrender, and they refuse to allow themselves to be seen as weak. This approach to pain can create an illusion of invulnerability, but it can also leave Aries feeling isolated when they don't allow others to share in their emotional burdens. While this strength is admirable, it's important for Aries to learn to open up and seek support when needed. By allowing themselves to lean on others, Aries can build deeper, more authentic connections and find strength in vulnerability. 9. Cautious of negative energy, protecting their vibe. Aries is highly attuned to the energy of those around them. They have a built-in radar for detecting negativity or toxicity. And they are quick to distance themselves from people who radiate bad vibes. This ability to sense the emotional atmosphere of a room or a person makes Aries excellent at navigating social situations. But it can also make them seem overly cautious or selective in their relationships. Psychologically, Aries' sensitivity to energy is linked to their strong intuition and their desire for emotional stability. They intuitively understand that negativity can drain their energy, which is why they are careful about who they allow into their lives. Aries tends to surround themselves with people who uplift them. And they don't hesitate to cut ties with anyone who brings negativity into their space. For example, if an Aries senses that someone in their social circle is dishonest or has a hidden agenda, they will not hesitate to remove that person from their lives. They trust their gut feelings, and if something doesn't feel right, they'll act quickly to protect their peace. This sensitivity to negative energy can make them appear guarded or even paranoid at times. But it's simply their way of maintaining emotional and mental well-being. This selective approach to relationships ensures that Aries remains surrounded by positivity, authenticity, and support. While some might view this as overly cautious or even harsh, Aries knows that their energy is precious, and they'll do whatever it takes to preserve it. 10. Natural-born leaders, always taking the initiative. One of the most defining characteristics of Aries is their natural ability to lead. Whether in a group setting or as the head of an organization, Aries exudes leadership qualities that draw others to them. They don't wait for instructions, they take the initiative and move forward with confidence. This leadership ability is fueled by their unshakable self-belief and their desire to make things happen. From a psychological perspective, Aries' leadership style is rooted in their independence and their drive to control their own destiny. They are not the type to follow others. They prefer to carve their own path. Their boldness and assertiveness naturally place them in positions of authority, and they thrive in environments where they can take charge and make decisions. However, this desire to lead can sometimes make Aries come across as overbearing or domineering. People who prefer a more collaborative, team-oriented approach may find Aries' directness and decisiveness overwhelming. But for Aries, leadership is not just about being in charge, it's about making things happen, pushing boundaries, and inspiring others to take action. For example, imagine Aries in a work setting where a project is stagnating. While others are waiting for someone else to step up, Aries will take the reins and lead the team with determination and energy. Their confidence and drive can be incredibly motivating for those around them. But it can also leave some feeling like they are being overshadowed or bulldozed. This natural leadership ability can be a double-edged sword for Aries. While it helps them succeed in their goals, it can also create tension with others who prefer a more balanced or inclusive approach to leadership. Still, Aries thrives in these situations and will continue to push forward, determined to lead by example. 11. Finding common ground, the importance of shared interests. For Aries, meaningful connections are built on shared passions and interests. While they are fiercely independent, they thrive in relationships where there is a genuine alignment of values, goals, or hobbies. Aries cannot stand superficial relationships or those that feel empty. They are not the type to settle for casual acquaintances. Instead, they crave deep, authentic connections with people who share their enthusiasm and zest for life. From a psychological perspective, Aries' desire for common ground is rooted in their need for meaningful engagement. When Aries forms a connection with someone, it's important that both parties are fully engaged and excited about the same things. This connection could be through shared hobbies, work projects, or even a mutual vision for the future. For Aries, having a relationship built on these shared passions feels fulfilling and purposeful. Take, for example, an Aries meeting a new friend who shares their love for adventure and exploring new places. They quickly bond over the idea of a spontaneous road trip, each bringing their own excitement and ideas to the table. The connection between them becomes dynamic and stimulating, as both Aries and their new friend are equally invested in the journey. However, if Aries were to meet someone who doesn't share this enthusiasm or passion for exploration, they may quickly lose interest or feel disconnected from the person. This need for genuine compatibility is also reflected in their romantic relationships. Aries seeks a partner who shares their sense of adventure and drive for life. If a romantic partner doesn't match their energy or interests, Aries may feel the relationship is lacking depth. For them, true intimacy and fulfillment come from bonding over shared experiences and goals. However, this selective approach to relationships can sometimes make Aries appear distant or hard to approach. Their demand for authenticity and alignment can leave others feeling excluded, especially if they are used to more casual or surface-level interactions. But for Aries, this intensity is essential to creating a connection that is both rewarding and meaningful. 12. Unshakable loyalty, the fierce devotion of Aries. When it comes to loyalty, few signs match the commitment and devotion of Aries. Once they've decided to invest in someone or something, they give their whole heart to it, and they expect the same level of dedication in return. Whether it's in a romantic relationship, a friendship, or a professional partnership, Aries stands by their loved ones with an unwavering sense of loyalty. This loyalty is not simply about being faithful, it's about protecting, supporting, and standing by the people they care about, no matter the circumstances. Aries takes their commitment seriously and does not tolerate betrayal or dishonesty. Once trust is broken, it can be incredibly difficult for Aries to rebuild it, as their commitment is absolute, and they expect the same level of investment from others. For example, in a friendship, Aries will go to great lengths to be there for their close friends. If a friend is going through a tough time, Aries will offer unwavering support, whether it's through physical assistance or emotional encouragement. However, if that same friend were to betray Aries' trust or treat them poorly, Aries will have a difficult time forgiving them. The level of commitment Aries has to their loved ones makes them both a dependable and intense presence in their relationships. From a psychological perspective, this loyalty stems from Aries' deep need for security and authenticity in their connections. They value trust above all else, and once they've formed a bond, they pour their energy into it. This steadfast loyalty can be both a strength and a challenge, as it creates incredibly deep and meaningful relationships, but also high expectations that can sometimes be difficult for others to meet. 13. Reserved affection, love given to the worthy. Despite their passionate and intense nature, Aries is surprisingly selective when it comes to showing affection. They do not freely give their warmth or love to just anyone. Instead, they reserve their deepest feelings for those they truly trust and admire. While they may appear distant or even aloof to those on the outside, their affection is reserved for a select few who have proven themselves worthy of it. Psychologically, this selective warmth can be seen as a form of self-protection. Aries does not want to waste their energy on people who do not value them or who fail to meet their high standards of authenticity. They believe that true affection is something to be earned, not freely given. This makes their expressions of love feel rare and precious to those who receive them, but it can also create an emotional distance between Aries and others. For example, an Aries may initially come off as cold or indifferent in a social setting, especially to someone they have just met. They may not readily engage in small talk or offer compliments, preferring instead to focus on their inner circle. However, for the people who have earned Aries' trust and respect, their love and affection know no bounds. Aries will go out of their way to show their support, whether it's through acts of service, deep conversations, or spontaneous gestures of care. This behavior can sometimes confuse others, especially those who are accustomed to more open expressions of affection. Aries' reserved nature may make it seem like they don't care, but in reality, they simply want to make sure their affection is directed toward those who truly appreciate and deserve it. 14. Asking for help, a sign of trust and vulnerability. Aries is often seen as a symbol of strength and independence. They pride themselves on being self-sufficient and capable of handling any challenge that comes their way. However, despite their outward confidence, asking for help is one of the rarest and most vulnerable acts an Aries can make. When they reach out for assistance, it is not because they are weak, but because they trust the person they are asking. For Aries, seeking help is an intimate and meaningful act. It signifies a deep level of trust and respect for the person being asked. They only turn to those they believe will provide support in a way that aligns with their values and needs. This trait highlights Aries' ability to recognize their own limitations and seek the necessary guidance when needed, even though they may be reluctant to do so. Psychologically, this reluctance to ask for help stems from Aries' desire to maintain control and independence. They do not want to feel like a burden, and they may fear that asking for assistance will make them appear vulnerable or dependent. However, when Aries does open up and reach out, it is a clear sign that they have recognized the importance of teamwork, connection, and vulnerability in their lives. For example, an Aries who is struggling at work may hesitate to ask for help from a colleague, but when they do, it shows that they value the other person's expertise and are willing to trust them. While this may seem like a small action, it is a significant moment for Aries, as it represents a break from their usual self-reliant nature. This trait also encourages those around them to offer their support and assistance, knowing that Aries' request for help is a meaningful and genuine gesture. 15. Clear views on life and love, embracing balance and independence. Aries approaches life and love with clarity and purpose. They are not easily swayed by others' opinions or societal expectations. For Aries, life is about balancing their personal ambitions with their need for connection and love. While they embrace love as an essential part of their journey, they never allow it to define them or overshadow their personal goals and dreams. Psychologically, Aries' perspective on life is rooted in their independent nature. They do not seek to merge their identity with others or find validation through relationships. Instead, Aries believes that love should enhance their life, not become the sole purpose of it. This sense of balance allows them to pursue their goals with intensity and passion while also nurturing meaningful relationships. For example, an Aries in a romantic relationship will give their all to their partner, but they will never lose sight of their own ambitions and goals. They believe that a healthy relationship is one where both partners can grow individually while also supporting each other. This balance between love and personal growth is what makes Aries a unique and powerful force in both their relationships and their own lives. Their ability to maintain this balance may be difficult for others to understand, especially those who view love as the central focus of life. However, Aries' approach shows that love, while important, is just one piece of the puzzle. By maintaining independence and clarity in their own goals, Aries ensures that they can fully embrace both life and love in a way that feels empowering and fulfilling. 16. Selective friendships, true loyalty in a small circle. Aries values deep, meaningful friendships, and they are not interested in superficial relationships. They are incredibly selective about who they allow into their inner circle. While many people might be content with a large group of acquaintances, Aries prefers to keep a smaller group of trusted friends who share their values, ambitions, and energy. They believe that quality always trumps quantity, and they are willing to invest deeply in the few people who earn their trust. This selectiveness comes from Aries' desire for authenticity. They have little patience for fake people or those who are insincere. If someone doesn't align with their values, or if Aries senses that someone is pretending to be something they're not, they will distance themselves quickly. For Aries, a genuine connection is essential. They don't have time for games or drama. Psychologically, Aries' preference for a small, tight-knit group of friends can be seen as a reflection of their need for trust and loyalty. They don't want to spread themselves thin by maintaining multiple surface-level relationships. Instead, Aries pours their energy into the people who truly matter to them. Once someone earns Aries' trust, their loyalty knows no bounds, and they will stand by their friends through thick and thin. However, this selectivity can make Aries appear distant or aloof to those who haven't earned their place in the inner circle. It might be difficult for some people to break through Aries' outer layer and become part of their close-knit group. But once you're in, Aries will be one of the most loyal and supportive friends you can have. 17. Bold and innocent, fearlessness and optimism. One of the most fascinating aspects of Aries is their combination of boldness and innocence. Despite their intense drive and assertive nature, Aries often approaches life with a sense of childlike optimism and fearlessness. They are unafraid to take risks, try new things, and step into the unknown. This fearless attitude comes from their innate belief that they can overcome anything, and that every challenge is an opportunity for growth and adventure. Psychologically, this trait speaks to Aries' core belief in their own capabilities. They view setbacks as temporary and are quick to bounce back after facing difficulties. Aries' optimism is contagious, and their courage often inspires others to take risks and face their own fears. This combination of boldness and innocence gives Aries an almost childlike energy. They approach the world with wonder, excitement, and the belief that anything is possible. For example, Aries might take on a new project at work or start a new business without hesitation, even when they know the risks involved. They don't dwell on the possibility of failure, instead, they dive in with enthusiasm and confidence. To others, this can seem reckless or overly bold, but to Aries, it's just another chance to prove themselves and take on the world. This combination of fearlessness and optimism is one of the key factors that make Aries such an exciting and dynamic presence in any group. They bring energy and enthusiasm to every situation, and they never shy away from a challenge. 18. Competitive spirit, relentless drive for victory. Aries has an unyielding competitive spirit that drives them to excel in everything they do. Whether it's in sports, business, or any other endeavor, Aries doesn't just aim to participate, they aim to win. This competitive nature is fueled by their intense desire to prove their strength and capabilities. For Aries, competition is not just about achieving success, it's about demonstrating their dominance and ability to overcome obstacles. This drive to win often leads Aries to take on challenges that others might shy away from. They are not intimidated by competition, instead, they thrive on it. The thought of someone else outperforming them is often enough to push Aries to work harder, think faster, and innovate. They constantly seek to improve themselves, setting higher goals and challenging themselves to go further. Psychologically, Aries' competitive nature is linked to their need for self-validation. Winning is a way for them to prove their worth and demonstrate their power to themselves and the world. They derive a sense of accomplishment from facing tough competition and emerging victorious. However, this fierce competitiveness can sometimes create tension with others who may not share Aries' level of intensity. While some people view competition as a friendly challenge, Aries often sees it as a high-stakes game that requires full commitment. This can lead to conflicts in relationships or work environments, where others may feel that Aries is too focused on winning at all costs. For example, Aries in a workplace setting might fiercely compete for a promotion, willing to put in the extra hours and effort needed to outshine their colleagues. This relentless pursuit of victory can be inspiring, but it can also be exhausting for those who don't share the same competitive drive. 19. Unpredictable reactions, the element of surprise. One of the most captivating aspects of Aries is their ability to react unpredictably. Aries is known for having quick reflexes and intense emotional responses that often catch people off guard. Their reactions are driven by their instincts and can be sudden, dramatic, and sometimes even shocking. This can make Aries incredibly exciting to be around, but also challenging to predict. Psychologically, Aries' unpredictability is linked to their impulsive nature. They don't have the patience to think things through in the moment, instead, they react quickly based on their emotions and gut feelings. While this makes them incredibly responsive and decisive, It can also make them seem erratic or difficult to understand. For example, if someone were to surprise an Aries from behind, their immediate reaction might be intense, perhaps a burst of anger or a sudden outburst of excitement. This emotional response could be triggered by the shock of the moment, and within seconds, Aries will return to their normal, energetic state as if nothing happened. This unpredictability can make Aries both fascinating and, at times, overwhelming to those around them. This trait also reflects Aries' passion for life and their need for constant stimulation. They are not content with the mundane or predictable. They seek experiences that challenge their emotional and physical limits. However, their unpredictable reactions can create tension in relationships, especially if others are caught off guard by Aries' sudden outbursts. 20. Complex and adventurous, the quest for meaning and growth. Aries is often seen as a simple and straightforward sign, but beneath their bold exterior lies a deeply complex personality. They are not content with living a life that is limited to surface-level experiences. Instead, they are constantly searching for deeper meaning and growth. Aries thrives on adventure, pushing boundaries and exploring new territories, both physically and emotionally. This desire for exploration is not just about seeking thrills or new experiences, it's about the quest for personal evolution. Aries is always striving to improve themselves, whether that means taking on new challenges, learning new skills, or overcoming their fears. They are not afraid of change and often embrace it as a necessary part of their journey toward self-actualization. Psychologically, Aries' complex nature is linked to their internal drive for success and fulfillment. They are not content with the status quo, they want to constantly evolve and achieve more. This need for growth can sometimes make Aries seem restless or dissatisfied, as they are always looking for the next challenge or adventure. For example, an Aries may leave a secure job to pursue a new opportunity that offers more personal growth, even if it involves risk. They are not afraid to step out of their comfort zone in pursuit of something greater. This quest for meaning and growth is what drives Aries to continually push themselves to be better, both in their personal lives and in their careers. This complexity makes Aries a fascinating and dynamic person, constantly evolving and surprising those around them. They may be challenging to understand at times, but it is this very complexity that makes them so intriguing. 21. Unwavering loyalty in love, the all-or-nothing approach. Aries' loyalty in love is one of the strongest aspects of their personality. When Aries falls in love, they do so with intensity and dedication. They believe in the concept of all or nothing when it comes to relationships. They give their whole heart, mind, and soul to their partner and expect the same in return. This absolute commitment makes Aries one of the most devoted partners in the zodiac. From a psychological standpoint, this loyalty stems from Aries' need for security and trust in relationships. They do not take love lightly and expect their partner to be as committed as they are. Aries will stand by their loved one through thick and thin, and they will not tolerate betrayal or dishonesty. Once they have given their heart to someone, they will fiercely protect and support them. However, this intense loyalty can sometimes feel overwhelming or demanding for some. Aries expects the same level of dedication from their partner, and if they feel that their trust has been broken or their partner is not as invested, it can create significant emotional strain. But for Aries, loyalty is not a choice, it's a core part of their identity. For example, an Aries partner might go above and beyond to make sure their loved one is happy and supported, whether it's through grand gestures or everyday acts of love. However, if their partner shows signs of disloyalty or isn't fully committed, Aries may feel devastated, as their sense of loyalty is deeply ingrained in their nature. As we've explored, Aries is undoubtedly one of the most fascinating and dynamic signs in the zodiac. Their fiery nature, unwavering passion, and bold approach to life make them stand out in any crowd. From their direct communication style to their intense loyalty and adventurous spirit, Aries' personality is both captivating and, at times, puzzling. But it's this complexity that gives Aries its unique charm and allure. Aries embodies the essence of independence and self-reliance, yet they are deeply committed to those they love. Their all-or-nothing approach to life and relationships often leads them to extremes. They pour their hearts and souls into everything they do, from their careers to their personal connections. This intensity can sometimes be overwhelming, but it also leads to remarkable achievements and lasting bonds. At the same time, Aries' willingness to be blunt and honest with others ensures that they don't waste time in relationships or situations that aren't genuine. They crave transparency and directness, which can sometimes come across as harsh, but it's all about creating authentic connections. Their loyalty, however, remains unmatched. Once they have chosen someone to trust, Aries will go to great lengths to protect and nurture that relationship. What truly sets Aries apart, however, is their boundless energy and insatiable curiosity. They are natural leaders, always at the forefront of any challenge, inspiring others with their fearless approach to life. But beneath that bold exterior lies a deeply introspective side, a desire for personal growth, exploration, and meaning in every experience. This complexity makes Aries an enigmatic figure, one that can be difficult to understand but impossible to ignore. For those who have the privilege of connecting with an Aries, you'll find a fiercely loyal and passionate individual who will never shy away from showing their true colors. While their fiery temperament and competitive nature can be challenging, it's this very intensity that drives them to achieve greatness and inspire those around them. Whether they are tackling a new project, exploring uncharted territories, or loving wholeheartedly, Aries brings an undeniable spark to everything they do. In the end, understanding Aries requires recognizing the balance between their boldness and vulnerability, their independence and loyalty, their optimism and intensity. They are not simply a sign defined by their boldness, but by their constant quest for meaning, connection, and self-discovery. So, if you find yourself surrounded by an Aries, or if you are one yourself, remember that the energy they bring to the table is a reflection of their deep-seated desire to live fully, love passionately, and always stay true to themselves. Whether you're drawn to their unstoppable drive or their complex emotional layers, Aries is a reminder that life is meant to be lived with intensity, authenticity, and a fearless spirit.